How do you feel? That's my question. How do you feel? We're in the half of the way. I was like, woo! Okay. And we have the last session before the lunch break. However, the session will be very special. Our guest is special as well. In 2009, he was featured as one of 30 under 30 young tech entrepreneurs for Business Week. He's also an author of a book, Lost and Founder. He's the founder of Moz, and he's also a founder of Spark Toro, as a platform that helps you to discover a publication, social accounts, blogs, and a website to reach your audience. So let me introduce you on the stage, Rand Fishkin.
Howdy, gang. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I know we're in a movie theater, but I will not be taking off my shirt nor smashing any villains with a hammer. If you were expecting to see that, I think the Avengers movie is like 2 doors down. I don't think I've been in a theater before. It's kind of exciting and new. Okay, we have a ton to get through and not a ton of time, so 2 things we're going to do. One is the presentation is going to go the full 20-25 minutes, and then we are going to do Q&A into the break. So if you're comfortable sticking around a little bit, we can do some Q&A. If you want to talk to me afterward, they have requested that I say, don't grab me in here, wait until we go outside, because apparently it gets very challenging.
If I can jump on this, guys, to ask a question for Rand, we use a Slido platform. You simply go to slido.com and you put the hashtag SGGlobal. All of your questions will be there, and Rand will answer there. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and if there's questions we don't get to, I can always tweet those too. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. Let's go back in time, right? For a decade, we sort of had this playbook that startup marketing looked like, right? You launch an MVP, you iterate and you get product market fit, you use these growth hacks to scale, and of course, hopefully, for some of you at least, you raise VC and then you build out a growth team and all of that. And there's some challenges here, right? That MVPs, especially the last few years, have failed to earn the attention that they once did. I don't think that's a big surprise. Product market fit is not the competitive advantage that it once was. Growth hacks fail to deliver way more often than they work. And VC-backed failure rates, I think we all know this, are insanely high, right? Above 95% don't return the amounts that investors are looking for, which is not great for founders either. So what do we do here? I think we need a battle plan, and smart marketers can innovate on this. So let's talk about each of these 4 different things and ways to overcome them. Instead of launching a very early MVP, one of the things that I have found to be powerful and have seen startups have success with is launching what has been termed the EVP, exceptional viable product. I'm not sure if I named that, or I think I might have stolen that from somebody, but I cannot find who. And there is basically this idea, this concept that if you want to impress and delight someone, with your first launch, a minimally viable product is not the way to do, right? And so instead of this, what we can do is launch the MVPs. I believe in the philosophy. I think Eric Ries's idea of the MVP is still very smart. I just don't think you should put it in front of people who are going to judge and remember you. Let me explain why. When you first put out, let's say we're the team at Tesla, right? 7, 8 years ago when the first Tesla came out. And let's say it's an MVP Tesla, right? It barely runs, the battery is no good, Car and Driver does not name it one of the best cars to ever launch. They name it like, well, maybe 10 iterations from now this will show some promise. Does that company make it? Does it survive? I don't think so. And I've seen this time and again with launches that I've done, both at Moz and with companies that I advise, and it just doesn't work that way anymore, right? I think that the MVP process, if you have a very tiny audience can be fine. But if you have a big audience, if you're launching to a lot of people, and you should build a community before you launch, it has to be impressive. And so I think you can beta that, right? You can build the community before you launch. You can take a few of those users that you're building into your community who are right customers for you, and you can show it to them and learn and iterate until they are impressed, until they are addicted, and they're going back to your product and they're using it regularly, and then you can launch. That's when I think it's powerful. Instead of iterating exclusively to get to product market fit, right? I think we can also aim for product marketing fit. And there have been some smart folks in the startup space writing about this. So sometimes it is the case, right? I agree that product trumps marketing, right? Early Google in the late 90s, early 2000s, did not have great marketing. They were just a great product in a lot of ways. A very minimalist design, which appealed to a lot of savvy computer and software people, and so they made it the default search engine on all sorts of devices as they went about their work, right? I think the Nintendo Switch, the only advertising they needed to do was to show how it worked. And that addicted a lot of us. And sometimes marketing beats product. I'm not necessarily, you don't have to agree with these for sure, right? But some of you are like, hey, I work at Arby's, man. People do crazy things on television, like eat at Arby's. But I think that you will find that in a lot of spheres, especially B2B, especially niches, marketing and sales sometimes trumps the actual product itself. And why restrict ourselves? We can invest in both of these. We don't have to only iterate on product. If you want to be a great marketer and build a great product marketing fit, you want to focus on a flywheel. That is a marketing system that scales with decreasing friction. So I'll show you a content marketing flywheel, right? There's a classic one. So I do some keyword research. I figure out what people are talking about in my industry. I publish some content. I push it to my subscribers. I promote it on my social channels. I hopefully earn some links in application. I grow those channels, right? Because more people are subscribing. Then I get a bigger domain authority, and now I can earn search and referral traffic from it. And I rank for more and more competitive keywords. And I start the process all over again. And this is slow to start, but over time, it scales beautifully with decreasing friction. This works, woohoo, that was amazing. I mean, yeah, if you get a flywheel really going, right? So PR and ads works the same way, right? So too does events and sponsorship. A lot of B2B sales use this, right? They go out to events and they ID the right customers, and then they run these ads to target them, and they only need, right, this smaller group of people. But this scales beautifully over time. It gets easier and easier as you build it. That's the idea of any flywheel. It's hard at first, but it gets easier and more profitable as you scale it up. And this is something I'd urge you to invest in, generally over and above growth hacks, which we'll talk about in a sec. The idea is that you're going out and finding your audience's true sources of influence and marketing there. This is how a lot of us think about this today, and it's wrong. You don't actually want the most followed, X, most followed whatever thing that you have. That is not what you're seeking. Instead, what you want is the sources of influence that are most followed by your customers, right? Your audience. And that is different than most followed food blogger, right? In this example, right? So this is the concept behind SparkToro, but there's no product, so I have nothing to pitch you. Eventually. It's really hard to get this data today. Most startups who do it well do it with surveys and interviews. And that may sound manual and challenging, and that's what makes it a competitive advantage. Anytime something is hard for everyone else to do, there you go. Doesn't scale well? There you go. I would urge you to include all of these, right? I think that when people talk about influencer marketing, they generally just mean Instagram and YouTube. That's madness. People can be influenced by podcasts and white papers and trade journals and events and email newsletters just as easily, if not more so. So, all right. I get this question all the time. Whenever I show this stuff, people are like, oh my God, well, which one should I do? What about my startup? I don't know whether should I launch a blog or participate in these social discussions or build a community or invest in YouTube. And It's okay. You can only do one or two. When you're early stage, you can only do one or two. This is how I'd urge you to pick up. Find the intersection of these three things. You have personal interest and passion, that means you'll be able to do it well. If you could care less about Instagram and you sort of hate it, that's probably not going to be a good platform where you do a good job of marketing, right? An area that actually influences your potential customers, yes, you need that. And a place where you can provide unique value. Unique should be bold in there. I guess all of it's bold. All right, we'll sort that out in the next version. Instead of chasing growth hacks, this is what I'd urge you to do. Growth hacks can be useful, just the problem is that hack chasing often leads to startup death before success. You try a hack, you get a spike in traffic, and then it falls back down, and then it falls back down, and then, crap. This is because of what Andrew Chen calls the law of shitty click-through rates, right? Any exploitable short-term hack starts up here where it gets like reasonable engagement and people are surprised. Do you remember the negative opt-out pop-ups overlays that like show up on every website, right? And they come up and they say something like, subscribe to Neil Patel's newsletter. Now, I'm just using him as an example because he did this a lot. And then it would say like, no, I'm a horrible person, I want to die alone, and you have to click that, if you want to close it. They were very aggressive, and they worked really well at first, and now they don't work at all because they follow the law of shitty click-through rates, just like every other growth hack, and that's just how they end. But growth hacks can take that flywheel you're building and help accelerate that. So let's say, as an example, that you find that social promotion, right, amplification on all these channels is the hardest part, like the part that is not working for you and your startup and your content, and you're not getting the performance that you want. That is a beautiful time to apply a growth hack. And by the way, startups, according to Buffer anyway, who surveyed them, startups generally use a lot of social. That is a big marketing tactic. And what are social algorithms designed to do, right? Engage you, they're designed to addict you, they're designed to retain you. Right? And if we worked, probably maybe some of you do work at Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Reddit or Pinterest, right? You would do these same things. This is how you grow your business. But the reason that this is important is because we have to realize as marketers that, oh, wait a minute. When I post something, right, when I have a low engagement post on my Facebook page, this is my personal Rand Fishkin Facebook page, sorry, professional page, right? So I post something down here, it doesn't do well. You can't see behind here, but it says 1.7K. It's doing very poorly compared to it. But then when a post gets high engagement, Facebook is going to show my next post to a lot more people. They will give me the benefit of the doubt, the benefit of more impressions, so I can perform higher. And so in this way, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and all of these sites essentially are rewarding engagement streaks. They want high engagement streaks. That's because it keeps people on the platform, retains them, addicts them. So if you want to benefit from a system like this, you can take a hack like high engagement non-promotional post, high engagement non-promotional post, promotion, because I built up some algorithmic reputation, right? And then I do it again. I build back up. These ones earn brand and exposure and new followers, and these ones capitalize on that algorithmic reputation that you've built. This is a great way to apply growth hacks, right? This helps that flywheel turn faster and faster. If you want to know what kind of content is going to work, generally, there's a big difference between these two things. There's what your customers care about, and that's where a lot of us try and do marketing, content marketing, social media marketing, advertising. And then there's what influential people and publications that can share and amplify your work care about. And they like different stuff, mostly. You can find the intersect. Boom. This is where you get that high potential reach, high engagement, high return. By the way, the more difficult it is to create, better job you're generally going to do standing out. So, sending a tweet, pretty easy. Building a interactive platform, very difficult, right? And that gives you those advantages. So I'm not saying, right, that hacks are evil or spammy or without value. They can be useful. They just have to be applied in the context of this marketing strategy. All right. My suggestion would be you want to find this balance. You have your long-term investments that have high upfront costs and slow to show ROI and earn customers while you sleep. And then you have short-term hacks where you sort of pay in time and money, but they can show fast returns. Effort in equals whatever you're looking for out. They're higher risk. They tend to be higher risk. All sorts of risks, right? As I generally bias strongly away from the legal and ethical risks in growth hacks, but I know that many companies in this geography don't mind doing that. And other geographies too, just Silicon Valley we have a reputation here. All right. I wanted to bring this up. I know I didn't include it in the intro, but I wanted to bring this up because I see a lot of startups make this mistake where they overinvest in paid acquisition, right? Paid acquisition is like how they acquire customers. And the problem is that if you search with me, right? We're looking for food delivery. We're in Instagram and I see this Green Chef, and I've never heard of Green Chef, so I don't really want $40 off. I don't even know how much it costs, so $40 off is meaningless to me. And by the way, I don't trust this brand yet. Maybe you've heard of them and you would like this, and $40 off sounds amazing. Okay, awesome. That's because you've heard of them. Same story here, prepared meal delivery. I don't know balance.bistromd.com. I don't know, it sounds like a delivery service for pretentious doctors or something. I don't know. Naming conventions also important in startups. Right? If you're not yet known and liked and trusted, then your ROI is gonna suck. But, and I apologize for the clumsiness of this graphic. I stole it from WordStream, but I think it does a good job of sort of explaining how this works. This is true in search, but it's also true in social and display and other platforms. So advertiser one, the one at the top of Google's results, right back here, try caviar, right? They are probably paying the least and getting the most impressions because Google has seen that they have high engagement rates. And then the people below them are paying tons of money. And we don't think of it this way, right? A lot of marketers, unfortunately, think that if you pay more, your ads get shown more and you can grow your engagement more. And this is not the case. You have to be known and loved before you advertise. When you're new to a market, that's when you pay, right? That's when these platforms really charge you a ton. You want to win at digital ads? You got to earn brand exposure, get an organic visit or a social engagement or someone to at least hear of you, know about you, and then advertise to them. This is one of the reasons why I think there's a return to big media brand advertising in a lot of spaces, right? You could see a lot of talk around that with the Super Bowl. If you want to know what's going to work long term, I think it's this. Strategic roadmap, scalable flywheel, long-term investments, and then find those hacks and remove the friction. Okay, this one's gonna be controversial. I think that a ton of the reasons so many startups fail, so many of us don't make it, is because we are forced to have an outcome that is, frankly, impossible for most of us, right? And all of us know it going in. When you go into the pitch meetings, when you get funding, the day you get funding, what do we all do? Congratulations, Mazel Tov. Well, if you're me, but right? Actually, there's a lot of Jews in the startup world. Let's not kid ourselves. And this is overrepresented as a population. It's like 0.04% of the world, and like 10% of startups is real weird. But it's become an acceptable profession along with doctor and lawyer. I like that. This was not the case in 2001 when I was at my parents' for Thanksgiving. So if you want to be in that 5%, right, which we all want to be in that 5%, that is incredibly difficult. And I think this dichotomy between you either bootstrap and you're building a lifestyle business, which is always used pejoratively, right? It's used as an insult, and I think that's disgusting. I think lifestyle businesses can be amazing things and should be celebrated as much as anything venture-backed, but there are lots of alternatives, right? And there's tons of things in between bootstrap and venture. SparkToro raised 1.3 million, which is more than I raised with my first round at Moz of 1.1, but we raised it all from private angels, and we are an LLC that distributes profits. Sounds crazy, but we have good investors, very good investors, right? People that I think most people who would look at that list would be like, damn, so how'd you get those people? I don't. I sent them emails and they were like, wow, this sounds really good. So I think there's appetite, right? There's a tiny seed fund, which my wife and I just invested in, and the exit requirements are different, and so too is the survival rate. You can build something sustainable and survivable, and I would urge you to just consider the possibility, right? Ask yourself questions like, why do we worship only these? Why does the press only write about these? Why are these the only ones that are celebrated? I don't think they shouldn't be celebrated. I think some of the celebration is appropriate. I think there's been a lot of awesome entrepreneurship and innovation. But I think we need to start telling other stories too. And I mean, you've seen a little bit of it, right? With MailChimp and Wistia and Buffer and folks like that. If you haven't checked out this Zebras versus Unicorns movement from Mara Zapeta and the folks there in Portland, I really urge you to do so. I think there's exciting things going on in this alternative world. You just don't have to follow the same path that everyone else has gone on in startup world the last 15 years. You can ask yourself, like, what do I want professionally? What am I trying to create? What level of risk is acceptable for me, right? And for my family, for my co-founders, for my team, what level of reward is enough, right? If you make a few $1 million a year from a profitable business, are you gonna spend a ton more than that? Do you need to be a billionaire or die trying? Why is that? Is it for me? Is it for somebody else? All right, thank you very much. We will. We'll do some of these. Oh, yeah, great. Thank you. Hey.
I think we just run out of the time. So unfortunately, any question that can be taken.
Okay, all right. We'll do all the questions outside, or you can tweet at me at Randfish. Thanks so much.
Thank you.